I'm going to my parents' house for a month. What will you do about your chores at home if you're leaving? My son, I'm getting divorced. My mother-in-law gave me divorce papers. This works out well, she said when I left. I filed for divorce, went to my parents' house, and told my dad. After a month, my mother-in-law called me nonstop. Please, I messed up, I'm sorry, help me. My name is Emily. I'm 38 years old and I work in an office. Right now, I live with my husband, Tucker, and my mother-in-law in their house. Even though I should feel happy about being married to Tucker, I really regret it. The reason is that my mother-in-law bullies me all the time and never changes her behavior. Tucker and I met at work. Our companies were partners, so we often worked together. Over time, we became closer and started going out for meals and dates. After about a year of dating, Tucker proposed, and we decided to get married. That was 3 years ago when I was 35. At the start of our marriage, we were really happy. It was just the two of us, and I hadn't realized what my husband was really like yet. We both had good jobs and made good money. On weekends, we treated ourselves to nice trips and delicious meals at fancy restaurants. I thought we'd keep making great memories together. But things changed 2 years into our marriage. It all started when my husband's dad got sick suddenly and passed away. My mom is really sad about losing Dad, my husband said, turning to me for advice. Do you think we should move in with her? Huh. I was a bit confused. Sure, I cared about my mother-in-law, but we had only been married for 2 years. I wanted to live as a couple a bit longer, at least, but it seemed like my husband didn't want to leave his mom alone. I'm her only son, so I feel like I need to take care of her as much as I can, you know? Truth is, I hadn't been very attentive to my own dad before he passed away. Tucker, seeing my husband so sad, I felt the urge to help and support him. But I still regret the decision we made back then. If only I had realized what my husband was really like sooner, maybe things wouldn't have been so tough. Shortly after, my husband and I moved into my in-laws' house. Tucker, it's good of you to be here, my mother-in-law said. Mom, you don't have to worry anymore now that we're here, Tucker replied. Thank you, dear. I'll take care of you both from now on, she said. Of course, we appreciate it, Tucker responded. I couldn't shake the feeling that my mother-in-law's response to me was a bit distant. Feeling uneasy, I walked into the in-laws' house. After quickly putting away our things, my husband and I headed to the living room. I got some treats today since you were coming, my mother-in-law said. These are from my favorite bakery. I love the almond paste they use, my husband exclaimed happily, and I couldn't help but smile at his childlike excitement. But then my mother-in-law gave me a cold look and said, Emily, are you all right? Why do you look so lost? I brought some pastries, so let's hurry and make some coffee. I'm sorry, where are the coffee pots and things? You're so useless, aren't you? Oh, here they are. The shelf for the wife's stuff is here, she said, placing things in a messy way as she spoke. This happened because you never helped out before. Even though my mother-in-law said that, I couldn't agree. Even before, my husband and I often visited her house. But whenever I offered to help, she'd say, no need, just sit down, and wouldn't let me into the kitchen. Maybe she had strong preferences and didn't want anyone else interfering with her space, I thought later. I decided to stop offering to help altogether. Yet she would still get mad at me out of nowhere, which I thought was unfair. In response, my mother-in-law gave me a harsh look. What's with that look? Do you have a problem? She snapped. No, I didn't want to argue directly with her. Instead, I hoped my husband would step in and stop her. I glanced at him sitting at the dining table, but he seemed unconcerned, busy playing with his phone. It made me mad that he didn't care about me, his wife, being unfairly scolded. I never expected to face such unpleasantness right from the start. I started feeling anxious about living with my mother-in-law. And so, living with my mother-in-law began, and right away, problems started arising. It happened early in the morning. Hey, Emily, why are you still sleeping? I quickly checked the time on my phone. Well, it's only 5 in the morning, Mother. So what? You should be up making breakfast and Tucker's lunch, and don't forget you're supposed to clean the bathroom every day. My mother-in-law's words shocked me. Firstly, I didn't usually make lunch for my husband, and we often skipped breakfast because we weren't hungry. Plus, I never cleaned the bathroom before going to work because it was tiring. Sure, doing all those things required waking up early, but were they really necessary? As I hesitated, my mother-in-law got mad at me for not moving. Why are you just standing there? Hurry up. What kind of upbringing did you have to become so useless? She scolded. Her words angered me, so I decided to do exactly as she said. Every day, I woke up at 5 o'clock a.m. and cooked lunch and breakfast for my husband and me. It wasn't just simple meals. I made fancy dishes, and I always cleaned the bathroom thoroughly. Surprisingly, I started feeling better about cleaning the bathroom. It felt good to have a clean bathroom every day. My husband appreciated my hard work and thanked me for the meals and cleaning. But my mother-in-law didn't seem happy. She kept demanding more from me. Today, I feel like having Japanese food. No, wait, Italian. Oh, but it has to be authentic. Make pizza from scratch, cook pasta, and get that red wine from the fancy shop. My mother-in-law would make these demanding requests as if it were a special occasion. And the frustrating part is that my husband always listens to her. Make sure you do it exactly how my mom wants, he'd say, leaving everything to me. He didn't help at all. And once I took charge, he wouldn't lift a finger. Most of our precious days off were spent preparing the dinners my mother-in-law desired. On top of that, she would complain to me about various things. You're a wife. Why are you still working? You should be at home supporting your husband. Plus, you're getting older, and the time to have children is running out. Do you realize you're almost worthless? She'd say. Every day, my mother-in-law bombarded me with hurtful words, causing me to question her character. What kind of upbringing would produce someone like her? And my husband never stood up for me. One day, already stressed from work and dealing with my mother-in-law, my husband said something to me. My mom says you're neglecting the housework. Is that true? You never listen to me and always act defiantly. I used to appreciate you making lunch every day, but now I hear it's all frozen food. Do you really believe what your mom says? Of course I believe her. Why wouldn't I? Are you suggesting my mom is lying? You're acting terribly as a wife. Can't you fulfill your role properly? My husband snapped. I was furious at his words. What are you talking about? Just look for yourself. I make homemade lunches, clean, do laundry, and cook dinner every day. I protested. I'm telling you to stop lying. What mom says is true, Tucker. You're acting crazy, you mama's boy. What are you even saying? You never believe me or help me with anything. What exactly do you want me to do? You're such a nuisance, I retorted. It's just as mom says. Tucker's face turned red as he angrily responded. After that big fight, their relationship worsened. Whenever my mother-in-law harassed me, Tucker would join in and insult me too. Hey, is dinner ready? I just got home. Hurry up, my husband demanded. You're so slow and useless, my mother-in-law chimed in. Well, you're both failures, so it's no surprise, I muttered under my breath. Never mind, let's just go out to eat together, my husband suggested. That sounds good. Let's go, my mother-in-law agreed. They left me behind and went out to eat together, completely excluding me from the family. Every day, I endured insults and belittlement from both of them. Did I really need to put up with this marriage? That's when an unexpected opportunity came my way, and I thought, with this, I don't need to stay with my husband and mother-in-law anymore. Amidst all the turmoil, my husband and mother-in-law kept harassing me as usual. You're absolutely worthless as a daughter-in-law. I can't fathom how my son ended up marrying you. She scolded me while my husband chuckled along. It's time for a change, I interrupted, standing firm in front of them. I'm going back to my parents' house for a month. They both stared at me with widened eyes, a mix of surprise and anger evident on their faces. What? What about the house? What if there's a fire? My husband panicked. Yeah, you're being incredibly irresponsible. If you're leaving, then divorce my son. My mother-in-law yelled, grabbing something from a drawer. It was the divorce papers. She threw them at me. Go ahead, sign it, she challenged. Oh, Mom, you're prepared for this, my husband remarked, surprised. That's right. You have no choice but to obey us. If you don't like it, then get a divorce. This is a convenient situation, my mother-in-law asserted. Fine, let's get divorced then, I responded firmly. They both widened their eyes in shock at my response, but I ignored their reactions and picked up the divorce papers, starting to fill them out. I'm done with my part, so please leave quickly, I told them. My husband blinked at me in disbelief. Was that earlier just a bluff? That was really lame, he muttered. But when I insisted, he probably glared at me. Don't mess around. I'm serious. Let's get divorced, I said firmly. Tucker forcefully snatched the divorce papers from me and filled in his own section. "Is this good enough?" he asked, slamming the divorce papers on the table. "Even if you want to take it back, it's too late." "Oh well, this means it's over for you two in my heart," she laughed loudly. "I thought it's over for you guys." As soon as I left my in-laws' house, I promptly submitted the divorce papers. I returned to my parents' house and told my father about everything. He was shocked and promised to take necessary actions to address the situation. Then, 1 month later, my mother-in-law bombarded me with phone calls. "Hello? Hello? What do you want? We're complete strangers now. Please don't say that. Tucker and I are in a difficult situation," I responded. "Oh really? That must be tough for you," she replied sarcastically. "I haven't said anything yet. I'd rather end this call. Can I hang up?" "Wait, I have a favor to ask. Can you talk to your father?" my mother-in-law pleaded. "Why should I, after everything you and Tucker put me through?" I retorted. "I'm sorry about that. I didn't realize that your father's company is an important business partner of the company Tucker works for," she explained. "Actually, my father runs his own company, and it's quite successful. He used to have business dealings with Tucker's company too. We probably discussed this before we got married. But at that time, my father-in-law was still alive, and maybe my mother-in-law didn't think she needed to be involved in the conversation. As for Tucker, it's strange that he doesn't remember. But maybe he forgot while siding with my mother-in-law in criticizing me. When my father decided to end the business dealings, Tucker's company offered to continue the contract by letting go of Tucker instead. So Tucker lost his job. And it turns out that Tucker had suggested remodeling our family home when we were planning to live together, and he took out a loan for it. Now that he's unemployed, it's almost impossible to manage loan payments while trying to make a living. Until now, we've been able to manage because I've been contributing my fair share of living expenses as a company employee. But now that I'm divorced, Tucker and my mother-in-law must be in a tough situation. "Why did you feel the need to show off by remodeling the house, Tucker? You're so proud, just like your mother." "Please help me," my mother-in-law pleaded. "I apologize for my mistakes," she continued weakly, lacking the strength to respond to my provocation. "I'm sorry, but I can't forgive you for what you've done. If you're expecting me to help you, it's pointless. Instead, focus on finding a job, even if it's temporary. As for me, this conversation is a waste of time, so I'm ending it now." After ending the call and blocking their numbers, I heard that my ex-husband and mother-in-law couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments, so they had to sell the house. It wasn't even that old, and my mother-in-law could have lived there during her retirement. It's a shame they wasted money and let it go. Currently, they're living in an apartment on an island somewhere. My ex-husband works part-time while they rely on my mother-in-law's pension to get by. Meanwhile, I was getting ready to move overseas. Instead of renting a new place, I decided to stay with my parents until I leave. I'll cherish the time with them until then. I'm excited and hopeful about life and work in the new country. Despite the difficulties with my ex-husband and mother-in-law, I'm optimistic about the future. I wonder why they treated me so poorly, but I'm glad to have cut ties with them. Maybe I'll find a wonderful partner overseas and have an international marriage. I genuinely wish them happiness in their future. Thanks for following my story, and if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel. I look forward to sharing more with you in the future.